today because Ed's not going to be here. So, everyone stand, please.
I'll ad-lib this the best I can. Our friend Ed is on his way to Great Falls as we speak, driving to see an old friend who has had a brain tumor removed, and he wants to be with her as this all transpires. I think it's wonderful to see this room full of people today. And dear Lord, thank you for this assembly of wonderful people that care about the right things. There's so much to thank you for. And living in the Bitterroot Valley, in the amazing state of Montana, in our tremendous country of the United States of America, is such an incredible privilege that you have given to us. Here today, I look around and I see lots of people that get involved in government at all levels. So please, guide and direct our president, guide and direct our local officials and our state officials and people that care so much about the future of our country. And thank you for the gift of life itself. Amen?
Amen. Amen. We have a pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Decided to be stronger since.
And welcome. And so looks like somebody on the line. I know. And I thought, oh, Judy.
Judy, you want to go ahead and announce?
My name's Elaine Bridge. And I'm on your site. On your website.
Where are you from?
I'm from Corvallis right now. But I originally was in Wyoming for 35 years before I moved here. I've been here 14. And I'm a first generation American from grandparents and a father that came from a communist country and literally my grandmother escaped over the mountains and they would be rolling in their graves if they knew what was going on right now. We have to protect our freedoms.
It's
for
my
grandchildren that I have. 11 of them.
Of course, we're excited that Teresa's our speaker, and we have Senator Fred Thomas is here with us today, and we have our state committee man and state committee woman, Judy and Hollis Polier, here with us today. And are you a new member of the school board?
No, I'm a failed member.
You did? Oh. Well,
The incumbents won.
thanks for trying. That's too bad. Well, let's see. We've got lots of guests here today, and it's wonderful to welcome back our old friends. Now, if I slaughter your name, will you forgive me? I think I have Rena Weather from Scalco area.
I'm working on it, guys. I'm sorry.
And, you know, you can't believe it, we got Jimmy Canton back. I haven't seen Jimmy forever. Kenny?
You know, Miss Judy, I'm honored to be here, but I've got a bunch of photographs I want to get to you to present from people all the way from Joplin, Missouri, San Diego, California, up north into Montreal.
Wow.
I'm going to bring them to you and you can do a slideshow.
Oh,
It's going to be beautiful.
I can't take that.
and
I can't.
you're
I got it.
Jacob DeVries.
Jacob DeVries, and you're on Central City as well.
He's our fundraising chair.
Fundraising chair. Good.
She used to be.
Sorry.
Sorry.
And we're tickled to have you on. We haven't seen you forever. Took, what, 2,500 miles a week up this car. You guys eat this? Let's see. And Patty Jo Haskell. Right. And We all know Jane Alford, and this is my best friend here. Welcome back.
Thanks. Okay, Glenda, you wanna do the treasury report?
President Jay Blakesley called the noon meeting of the North Valley Pachyderm Club to order with 38 present on May 3rd. Ed Sperry led us in prayer, Ray Hawk led us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Judy Klein introduced guests. The minutes from the April 19th meeting were approved as read. Treasurer's report, we have $2,587.28. Jeannie Coe announced the next Celebrating Conservatism Society meeting will be the third Monday of the month. Skip talked about the meeting going on about septic systems. President Jay Blakesley introduced our guest speaker, State Senator and Majority Leader Fred Thomas, who talked about the legislative session, what bills were passed, some that didn't make it, and some that were bad bills that were passed. Question and discussion followed. The 50-50 was $98 and Alan Barr won $49. The meeting was adjourned, respectively submitted to Glenda Edgeworth, I can't even talk. And I have now paid our state and national dues, $20 per person, which we have 17 paid members, $4 to the state for 17 paid members. So that is, we now have $2,368.28.
Okay. All right. We're gonna go to, announcements. Anybody have any announcements? Yes, Ron.
Like Linda just said, the Advancing Conservatism Society is having a meeting this coming Monday evening, 7 p.m. in Hamilton at the Board of Realtors building.
Thanks, Ron. All right. Any old business? Skip, you had something?
I'll just give you a few sentence review on something I've been staying on top of that I've encouraged everybody at this meeting and other places to be aware of in the newspapers, and in fact, go to the meetings if you can. On the second Wednesday of every month, which is the Environmental Health Department of our county. There's some very interesting and very important things in the future that are coming up. One lady that I know that goes to them is Katie in the corner over there. It's amazing some of the things that come up, and some of the things that are going to be, they're going to affect everybody that owns a piece of property in this county eventually. So I wanted you to be aware of that. If you know Katie especially, she's on board. And I'll tell you this, it's a wonderful job that she does for us, because she puts all the cards on the table and makes sure that everybody understands the direction that this is all going. And I'm trying to give you the idea that you have a voice in this, and I promise you that as these new changes happen in the environmental rules in this county, you're going to want to be aware of it. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. All right.
Just to respond to that, it's not just this county, it's the state, and we're complying with the nation.
Oh, and you're complying with the state, huh?
We're complying with the state and the EPA, the national EPA.
Please correct me if this is wrong. It could affect every landowner in this county, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to do with septic permits.
Yes, and also whether it could, just as Craig Cyphers said at the previous meetings, that it could end up being a bottleneck of every sale of every property had to be.
We're working on getting that, getting it streamlined.
That would be wonderful.
That's why it's taken us almost 2 years to get through this.
But it's amazing the details that have to be dealt with, and that's why I was complimenting you on dealing with all of those things so efficiently. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have some new business?
Yeah. If you've been to the Pachyderm meetings before, you know I'm a real fan of the Range magazine. This last issue had something that really hit me hard, and it's titled, "Are Wolves Really the Problem?" And it starts out this way. Bill McIrvin was sound asleep when the phone began ringing. As with most people, he assumed a late night call was important. He staggered from his bed and answered. The call wasn't urgent, and it wasn't from family or a neighbor. It was another pig nest call from a wolf advocate. Now, this is where it really hit me. But this call was different. The voice on the other end was trembling, and it sounded as though she was crying. "You have to stop killing wolves," she quivered. "Don't you understand what wolves do? If a child gets lost in the mountains, the wolves will find them, take care of them, protect the child until they can lead them back to safety." Now, this,
Are you kidding me?
this is what we are up against. When you have somebody with that kind of a thinking, that, where do they get this?
They'll take care of your cat and dog too.
You cannot change this person's mind.
It's like the Three Little Pigs.
And then there was one here, a paragraph I wanted to read because I thought it was just funny, and then I got something for Teresa. This starts out with, "Touch me, Jesus, touch me. My ship is about to come in. The Green New Deal is going to make me whole. I will start bootlegging beef. My bootleggers will stand on corners in the cities wearing trench coats and cowboy hats. They will stop people to say, 'Hey, buddy,' open their coat and show them T-bone steak, sirloin, and tenderloin. I will be the El Chapo of the illegal beef trade." Now,
How do they keep them cold?
Yeah, exactly.
But it just broke me up. And then this is for Teresa. This guy says his favorite saying is, since you raise horses,
Yes, sir.
he says his favorite saying is never holler whoa in a horse race.
That's right, that's right. But always holler whoa when the big government's running away.
Yes.
Whoa, just say whoa, that is my tagline.
But this magazine is just fantastic. It's interesting. And if you're a conservative and want to keep the country the way it's founded and keep food on your table, this is a great magazine.
Well, on another note on that subject, they had a news article last night on the news about this guy that's invented a new hamburger, and it's made out of vegetables, and everybody's going crazy about it. They said it's gonna replace meat. So, just to let you know that they're working on replacing meat.
Yeah, they're
And it probably works for the Obama Department of Agriculture that was actually pushing meatless Mondays.
Yep.
Probably, so, anyway, they're working on it, trying to replace it. All right, so moving on, we have any more new business?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact.
Anybody, new business? Okay, we are gonna go with our speaker, Teresa Manzella, our state representative, so carry it away.
Awesome, thank you so much, Gwen. Hello, North Valley Pachyderms. I am so glad to be back in your presence, in the presence of friends. This is my favorite group. I tell you that every time. This is where the principal conservatives live, and I consider you my friends. And I'm very, very thankful to be here with you today. This is my opportunity to share with you a legislative summary, what we experienced over the 90 days, 87 days that we spent in the legislative cycle, the 66th legislature. And it's hard. It's hard to condense all of the things that we did into a small segment of time. And quite honestly, I would love to be able to share with you all of our victories and all of our successes, and that we came home heroes. I would love to be able to do that because I love the Republican Party, and I love the Republican platform, and I love what it stands for and what we stand for. But sadly, today my presentation will probably be somewhat uncomfortable for me as well as you. And I need to ask your permission. May I share my truth with you?
Absolutely.
May I share what I experienced?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it. You want to know my perspective, the truth of my perspective. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm old school. I work off a little easel and my
You're even
easel,
older school than I am.
and my easel's not
I'm old school.
cooperating very well. But we'll see how this works. We'll just have to go with it and adjust and overcome as we need to. Show of hands, is everybody aware that there's a rift in the Republican Party? Good. So we don't have to pretend that there isn't one. Good, I'm glad to hear that. A few Sundays ago now, there was an article in the paper. I think it was something titled 3 Solutions Caucus members from our Valley County share their perspective, or something along those lines. And there was a comment made by Representative Beatty about principles, about those of us who stand on principles, we claim our principles, and then we don't have to think any further. Okay? And so I'm one of those. And quite frankly, he's right. Whenever I decide that there is a principle that's been broken, that I adhere to, whether it be biblically or constitutionally, or on the Republican platform, if it's outside of the parameters, then he's right. I'm a no, and I'm moving on, because there's way too many bills to be considered and way too much to do in the legislature to waste time. But I want to share a little bit about my growing up and my experiences that led me to be what I consider to be a principled person. I certainly wasn't always. I hope to become more and more principled as I go through my lifetime, because I find security in principles that are tried, true, and tested and proven to work. Okay? This principle is something that's very familiar to anyone who's ever built a building. I'm sure Jacob knows about it. It's the Pachyderm theorem. Or if you're my father, who my father was a general contractor. We had Dick Manzella and daughter, general contracting. And he used to take me to the job sites, and we would lay out buildings. And this was what he called, with his 9th grade education, a man who ran several successful businesses and a pilot and accomplished everything he ever wanted to accomplish, had a 9th grade education, because that's what the American Dream did for him. He called it the squaring principle of 3, 4, 5. And when you go out to lay a building, if you put a stake in the ground here and go 3 inches or 3 feet or any multiple thereof, and put a stake there on that corner, and then you need 2 tape measures, and you draw to here, and you measure 4 foot here and 5 foot across this corner. This will be guaranteed 100% of the time a right angle corner. Okay? And that's exactly what you need to build your home, is a solid, square foundation from which to build, to maintain the structural integrity of your building. Comparative, and again, it works for any multiples thereof, so 6, 8, and 10. And here, I've illustrated what happens if you get off just a little bit. If you're 1/2 inch off in your measurements, here I've done 6.5 inches, and 10.5 inches, and 7.5 inches, all of a sudden, you don't have a right angle. Your lines are going askew, okay? And the further you go at a skew angle, the more compounded the problem becomes, okay? And that is an example that I see with a problem within our legislature, that we are putting layer upon layer upon layer of law and regulation outside of the principles of our Constitution. Okay? And when we do that, there is no reasonable place to stop. We have no chance of squaring our foundation again and building any structural integrity into our program. So I want to share that with you. And I want to share, I'm going to give you an example. Senate Bill 307 was one that passed last session, and I brought it to the attention of many in our Central Committee. I don't know if I shared it here. But what Senate Bill 307 did was it gave school boards the authority to pass up to a 10 mil levy on the citizens of their district without a vote of the people. Okay? So that's a permissive levy. Okay, that's up to a 10 mil annually. Okay, we did that. Okay. Now what does our Constitution say about that? We abdicated our taxing authority Article 8 of our state constitution, under the heading of Revenue and Finance, states that the power to tax is inalienable to the legislature and shall never be surrendered, suspended, or contracted away. But we gave our authority to the school boards to tax our citizens up to 10 mills annually at their discretion without a vote of the people. Further, Article 10 of our state constitution covers the topics of education and public lands. Okay? Interesting, isn't it? That education would be lumped in to the topic with public lands. Education and public lands. What do they have to do with one another? Well, I'll tell you. Our Constitution specifically states that our school trust lands, our public lands, are to be managed for maximum revenue production to fund our public schools. That's what the provisions that were made when our Constitution was put together. Our public schools are to be funded by our public lands, and that is the #1 objective of our DNRC, our Department of Natural Resources, is to manage our public lands for maximum revenue to support our school system. Now let's jump to this session. This session we had bill after bill after bill after public education bill. I don't know how many of them came through. A bunch came through. 70 to the tune of 77 million. They asked us to put an additional 77 million. We are so far past the principle put forth in the Constitution. There's no reasonable place to stop. Okay? And I voted no on them, not because I don't like children. I believe in the education system. I want the best for our children. I just simply think that we need to be adhering to the principles put forth in our Constitution. And that, my friends, is the best argument that we could make to solicit more public lands from the federal government. Okay, that right there. We need more, because our DNRC is doing a good job of managing our public lands, but with inflation and the numbers of people that we're trying to accommodate, we simply need more public lands for them to manage. Does anybody not know that our state does a whole bunch better job of managing our public lands than the feds? Can we agree on that? Yes, absolutely. Okay, all right. Alan?
Well, what you're saying, at least the way I'm reading it, is that we really don't have a constitution. If the legislation can do this, then why do we have a constitution?
Well, that's the next thing to get rid of.
Well, yeah. You know what, and I should have said it, I meant to say at the beginning, that I got a lot of information to share with you, far more information than I could possibly share in a short period of time. So I am going to ask that you, we love to interact, and I love to interact with you, but I do have so much information I would like to ask that we hold our questions and comments till the end, if you would be so kind. Okay, so that's where I stand on the principle thing. I am always going to be a principled voter, okay? I'm a simplistic person, I'm a horse trainer. It's worked. It's worked for me throughout my life. You know, being fair and consistent and doing the same thing the same way every time has led me to 23 state, national, regional, and international championships with my horse. You know, it's worked. It's worked for me. So, so that's my response to the comment that we quit thinking. You know, we claim our principle and we quit thinking. I guess maybe he's right. So now, moving on to the legislative session, we had 58 Republicans in the House, 42 Democrats. So we had a comfortable majority, and the Republicans owned the House. We owned the House. Whatever went on there, we own it. 58 Republicans, we had a comfortable majority. In theory, we should have been able to pass or deny passage of any bill that made it to the floor. We had the majority. That's exactly where we want to be, right? Yay, Republicans, 58 majority. Sadly, right in the beginning of the session, after the election of leadership, it became readily apparent that we were not united as the Republican caucus. And that's really nothing new. In 2015, we had 12 Republicans that voted regularly with the Democrats. And that resulted in the passage of the Water Compact. That is the biggest takings of rights to this day, in my opinion. Passed on an illegal vote that we could not control. And also that was the session that we passed the original Veteran Care Medicaid expansion program that resulted in 97,000 able-bodied citizens without children being added to the Medicaid rolls. 2017 session, we had 13 Republicans that voted regularly with the Democrats. But this session, that number started at approximately 16 and rose over time to 20. Bear with me a minute here. I'm gonna find my pages and see if I can. Yep. I'm going the wrong way. Get tech savvy and do computer stuff, aren't I?
No. It's wonderful, just like that.
What's that?
It's fine, just like that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so although we live in a constitutional republic, we all agree on that, right? We live in a constitutional republic. We take an oath before God to uphold both the state and the federal constitutions. That is a covenant with the Lord himself. It always has been, and there is an accounting that goes along with that oath. Our central committees ask us to sign on and pledge our support to the platform, and our citizens elect us, taking us at our word and expecting us to honor our commitment to the oath. And although we do that, and although we are a constitutional republic, we still operate on a Democrat principle of majority rule, and every vote in the legislature takes 51 to win. We all know that, right? There's 100 people in the House, every vote takes 51 to win. In the Senate, it's 26. And of course, all the bills require the government, one governor to sign the bills into law, and our very liberal governor vetoed the majority of this session's work, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay? But when you take 58 of our Republicans and you take 20 of them and add it to the 42 Democrats, and they consistently vote with the Democrats, you can see that we're not going to win any votes. We're simply not going to win any votes. So in my opinion, that is the biggest issue that we Republicans need to face and need to talk about within our own ranks and within our own home. What does it mean to be a Republican? How serious are we about our platform and adherence to our platform? I'm very serious about it. When I was recruited to run by that man over there, I'm blaming him, you know, I felt so very, very unworthy of the job and the task. But he guided me to the Constitution. You need to know the Constitution, and you need to know what the Republican platform states. And our Republican platform is generated every 2 years by our grassroots Republicans in our state, okay? And that is the way it should be. That is absolutely the way it should be. We get to self-define what Republicans are. And our people have told us, and we have a great platform. It's a great platform. How many people have read the platform? Awesome. I have a few copies if anybody would like one. So, frankly, at this point, after serving in the legislature for 3 sessions and witnessing the increase of numbers of so-called Republicans who consistently vote with the Dems, I think not talking about it and trying to cover it up and pretend like it's not happening is not only foolish, but I think it's extremely dangerous. I agree. I think it's extremely dangerous. This is not happening by accident. We're not the only ones that this is happening to. It's happening all over our country. There have been several books written on the subject of neoconservatism, And there is plenty of evidence to support the claim that there is an organized agenda of the Democratic Party for taking us over from within, incrementally, progressively, and it's my opinion that they are accomplishing their goal. And it is up to us to fix it. If there is nothing else that we can fix on the federal government level or the state level government, surely we can fix the problem within our own party. Surely that is our responsibility to own it and fix it and to talk about it. And there's a lot of people who don't want to talk about it. They want to tamp it down, cover it up, not discuss it. This is a quote from Eli Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor. Neutrality helps the oppressor and not the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor and never the tormented. And I think that's where we're at. We've been silent about this issue for far too long, and we absolutely need to discuss it. So that's what I'm here doing with you, and I'm sorry I'm not here to be hippy skippy Mary and blow smoke up your dress. But those who amass legislative power by colluding with the enemy are not leaders. They are not leaders. They are thieves. They are thieves, much like those who steal valor from our military. The Republican Party had the opportunity to come home heroes, honoring the vote of our citizens on Medicaid expansion. Our citizens said no. But instead, I come home having to share this heartfelt but somewhat shameful truth with all of you. So again, this session I was on the policy side of the legislature, and again this session we had a very strong Judiciary Committee. Let's talk about some things we did right. Judiciary Committee, that's where all the most principled ideologues, that would be me, wear it like a badge of honor, go, because that's where all the major social issues, the moral issues, the constitutional issues, and the judicial issues come for hearing and vetting. We're also known as the Kill Committee because we know that it's actually more important to kill bad bills than it is to pass good legislation. We got plenty of laws out there, let me tell you, plenty of laws. It's very important that we kill bad bills, and that is what Judiciary Committee is known for. We are known as the Kill Committee, and the first one that comes to mind is the LGBTQRSVP bill. You know, that was an interesting situation. I probably don't even need to go into it, it might be too long, but we managed to stave that one off anyway. And we passed a lot of good bills. Let's see. Oh.
Tell us one.
Well, we passed House Bill 146 from Homeland, establishing laws regarding sanctuary cities in Montana. Sadly, the governor vetoed that. We passed my false reporting of crimes bill. That was when I was caring for the Ravalli County Sheriff's Department that added a felony penalty for felony false reporting. Right now, no matter what crime you report erroneously, you can only get a misdemeanor penalty for it. So I managed to get that through the House and the Senate. The governor vetoed that. Generally revised firearm laws by Matt Regier that would have pushed back against Missoula, who's creating the patchwork no-go zones with your firearms. Okay, so governor vetoed that one. We passed it, he vetoed it.
The Born Alive.
Oh yeah, the Born Alive bill. That's unbelievable. Dr. Oshevsky's Born Alive bill, also known as the infanticide bill, he vetoed that one.
It's not infanticide, I'm sorry, it's murder.
Yeah. Isn't that something? let's see, yeah, that's just unbelievable. We have some of the most lax abortion laws in the entire union, in the state of Montana, sadly. We passed the Adopt the Montana Pain Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, and he vetoed that one. We passed increased penalties for 5th and subsequent DUIs, and he vetoed that one. We passed Derek Ski's bill establishing a Montana school marshal program to address the issues of school shootings and security in our schools, and it's a great bill, and he vetoed that one. We passed Mike Hopkins' bill to revise free speech on campuses. Do you know that our college has free speech zones? You can only do free speech in a particular zone.
That's not even constitutional by the US Constitution.
I know, America's a free speech zone, right? He vetoed that one.
Used to be.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
He wants to be president.
Exactly. Dennis Lins has a heart for children in the child protective services issues. We know we have some problems in our DPHHS. We learned that in 2017 when we learned that 14 children died in the foster care program. And so we brought a lot of bills to try to bring some accountability and some transparency to the DPHHS situation, specifically child protective services and family services. And some of them didn't get passed across the floor, and this one did provide for investigations of retaliatory actions by child protective services against parents. I mean, the stories I've heard will make your toes curl of children being removed from homes on a whim, without any reason or due process. And he vetoed that one. Let's see, Senate Bill 71, Dr. Olszewski. Dr. O, we love Dr. O, right? He's a great guy. He brought a bill that was going to regulate health insurers administration for pharmacy benefits, basically to lower the cost of our drugs, of our prescription drugs. It's a great bill. Fantastic bill. Great bill! He vetoed that one.
Why?
Let's see. Governor Bullock has vetoed House Bill 262 because he believes that it is redundant, as there is already a current mandate to transfer excess funds that are not allocated for specific purposes. That's basically just mumbo jumbo for he didn't like it. Yeah. What we learned is that there's the middlemen, these, what are they called, PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. Yeah, the middlemen, they get lots, they rake in the dough. They're the people that rake in the dough between the drug manufacturer and the pharmacy, yeah, so we were trying to address that. And that was actually brought by our auditor's office. Matt Rosendale's doing a fantastic job, you guys. He's really doing a good job for us. So that's one we can be proud of for sure. Let's see, Keith Regier brought a bill requiring a provision of information before the performance of an abortion. All it did was required a doctor or an abortion provider to offer the mother the opportunity to look at an ultrasound before she had an abortion. And that didn't mandate it, just offer it. He vetoed that one.
They don't want them to know, do they?
So, we did a lot of good work. And our Judiciary Committee was a shining example of how a small scale of how governments and Republicans are supposed to be united and stick together and do what we're tasked to do, to represent you and represent our Constitution and our platform. Tax Committee was another great committee. Boy, Tax Committee killed, the Democrats brought tax bill after tax bill after tax bill. And our leadership, which was great, we had great leadership this session. they structure the committees and they put good people, good solid people on the tax committee, and they were successful in killing a lot of bad tax bills. How are we doing on time? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so let's see. One of the funnest things that I got to experience was concerning a silly little resolution, which we say is a letter to Santa Claus, doesn't have any teeth in it whatsoever. It's concerning the National Day of the Cowboy. And you know I'm all over that, right?
Never holler whoa in a horse.
Well, it was interesting that the National Day of the Cowboy, all it was asking for the legislature to recognize the fourth Saturday in July as the National Day of the Cowboy, and to be the 14th state in which to do so. And it came through the Senate beautifully, and it got to the House floor, and we had a wild hair that day, and things went south in a big hurry. First of all, one of the Democrat ladies wanted to put an amendment on it to make it cowgirl and cowboy.
Cow person.
So we spoke against that. And then the Native American took exception to the fact that they weren't included,
They
so
don't
he
want
wanted
to
to make
play
it
cowboys and Indians, do they?
Cowboys and Native Americans. And then we have a Spaniard, and he said, I want recognition for bringing horses to America in the first place.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden we talked that thing to death, and one of my dear friends, Bob Brown, he's